Hi, SP. Thanks for having me. And hi, everybody. My name is Gaby. I'm a brand and web designer for coaches and service providers. I focus on women owned businesses. So it has been a journey transitioning from a 9 to 5 to my full time business. I had my side business for a long time. And I think the transition just came with a lot. And I'm excited to share it here.
Oh, that is exciting. How long would you say you thought about it before officially making the decision of quitting?
Wow, I think that's such a powerful question. Well, it was always in the back of my mind, if we're being honest, because I always had like an entrepreneurial spirit. And before I, started my full time business, I was doing it part time for a long time, and I feel like the first few years wasn't. I treated it as a side hustle, but it wasn't until the pandemic, I think like end of 2019, 2020, when everybody was working from home, I was working from home, and I really saw the opportunity and the quality that technology had to run my business with it. Because I think before I did rely on technology, like for invoicing and stuff, but I wasn't super involved. And once the pandemic hit, everything had to be online. So I learned different tech. I learned different ways to communicate, to create different processes. So I think once that, I guess, clicked in my brain, that's when I started like, whoa, I can really do this. But I was super scared. It took me a while to come to that conclusion. Like, okay, I do want to do this, but how, right? How am I going to do it? Okay, so I took the decision. I want to do it, but how am I going to make this happen? And a lot of things have to, I think, took place in order for me to leave.
Honestly, I feel like everything you just said is like a part of that journey, a part of that mental and emotional journey of like trying to figure out when or how and all that stuff. I know for me, so I was working a sales marketing role and I just felt super unfulfilled and like very unchallenged. I was just like, you know what? My time is being consumed by things I never really wanted it to be consumed by. At that point, it was property management. So it was like dealing with residents and dealing with resident complaints versus like really diving into the marketing and like creative components. I started to envision my life for like 2, 4, 5 years from now. This is not what I want to do. I don't see myself in my manager's role or their manager's role. That's not something I want to do. There's like a series of moments that happen for people that it's almost like they accumulate and you're just like, okay, I got to do something about this. I got to figure out if there is a how to be able to make something that you're actually passionate about into something that allows you more flexibility or more time or, something that just allows you to be your own boss, like so many other different reasons. But what would you say has been the thing you've learned the most so far? Because I mean, it's only been really like a few months, right?
Yeah, that I've been full time. Yes, it's been a few months since beginning of May.
Yeah.
That's when I transitioned. I didn't really take that much time off, I feel, after, because I just rolled into what I already had been building. So I guess taking it back to when I decided to, okay, I want to do my business full time. How am I going to do it? I was in a role in higher education. So I was a multimedia designer for a university here. And I was there for a while. I was there for 7 years. I feel like a lot of people, they just move on because it's because of the work. For me, I feel like it was more for the relationships,
Mm.
because I was there for a while, so I did like my job. There were things, certain things about the politics that I didn't like, but I feel like after the pandemic, all those things that I didn't like sort of increased, or
Yeah.
like they changed to being more and more. And when I got serious about me wanting to just focus on my business, all of those things started to bother me a lot more, like times 10. Because I saw myself building something that I loved, and then having to go back every day to something that I didn't.
Hmm.
or something that could have been something that I couldn't change,
Yeah.
or I couldn't really make that shift for them because they already had their set ways. And I think it had to do a lot with the politics as well. A lot of places have very toxic politics for people of color. And now that I think now I'm in a better place to talk about that. Like I feel like before when I left, it was all sort of um, very emotional.
Hmm.
And luckily, I did have what I have going on with my business. So I feel like I handled it a lot different. And I was able to take myself to, okay, so now that I'm figuring out the how I'm going to leave this job, I figure out a way to make a plan. Okay, so what do I need to leave this job? First of all, is it money? Okay, how much money do I need? Is it time? Okay, how much time do I need to acquire this money? So I think that gave me a lot of security because I had a plan and I wrote everything down. And if being honest, it took me a lot of writing things down over and over again. So I believe it myself that I'm doing this. I also did like a pros and cons list to like, okay, so what do I like about this job that it made me stay for 7 years, right? Because 7 years is a long time.
Yeah.
So, in what do I like about this job? And what don't I like about this job? And is it worth it for me to stay maybe another year, right? While I still get to build my studio. So, I think just looking at getting it out of your head, first of all, is
Mm.
number one. Like, get it out of your head. Are you really serious about this? Or is it really that you just need another job, right? Or like, what in your business do you want to focus on the most, or what about your business is bringing life to you,
Mhm.
writing all those things down. I think that's it was very helpful for me, at least, to create my plan, to like my exit plan, for sure. And I think it also takes guts, right?
Yeah.
It takes guts, and also it takes a breaking point or a breaking moment where you're just like, that's it, I'm out. And for me, I think my moment where it was like, that's it, I'm out. In the back of my mind, I sort of already knew, right? Like things are a certain way in this place, and the politics are a certain way. But I didn't know how deep it was affecting me, and not just as an employee, but as a person of color.
Mm.
So I think that it became really stressful. My own body started giving me signs, right? Like I was so stressed out. A lot of days I will cry. I will drive my way to my job, and I will just cry because I'll be like, I don't like this. I don't like when this happened. But I think it took me realizing that um, they didn't have my best interest as an employee in mind, or as
Mm.
a person in mind, or at least as a person that has been there, has seniority, had been um, getting a lot of achievements for them. When I dropped the news that I was leaving, things started to happen. Like people were shocked because I was one of the top performers there. And I know it hurt. It hurt me to leave because it also like it hurt that part of my ego of like, oh, but I'm doing so good here, you know.
Yeah.
But I think realizing that there was no part of me for me to move up, no matter how good I was doing, because I was who I was, and also there was not a lot of room to move. There were people there who were waiting 10, 15 years for a promotion, and as I started to realize, also having my business, do I have 15 years, or do I want to give my this company 15 years for them to move me up to something that I feel like I will, you know, like a leadership position or something where I can actually make a difference. And I think weighing out those pros and cons led me to the decision where I was like, you know what? I don't have 15 years to give this company.
Hmm.
They're not even trying to match my salary. They said that it was a budget issue, but I saw that for somebody who was almost the same time as I was there, they had the budget to keep increasing, right? For a white person. So I don't know. It just felt like there were certain things that all trickled down that led me to that. Like, okay, this is it. I have to leave before I lose my mind.
Yeah.
And I have this really nice thing that I'm building. How can I take this nice thing and make it full time?
Mhm. Wow. I mean, first of all, thank you for being so vulnerable because I just feel like it sounds like not only was it not an easy decision, but there were so many components of it that took a toll on the decision itself, right? The fact that you were saying like there were physical like almost manifestations of what was happening that were impacting like your day to day. I think the fact of the matter is you listened to the signs, like you were being like very intentional with what it was you were doing and how it was you were being treated, and figuring out a way to get yourself out of a situation that isn't really serving you anymore, because at the end of the day that company wasn't looking out for your best interests, and if they are not, there's someone that has to, and it has to be you. So I feel like that's the powerful component of it all, is that you were able to do all of that and take everything that you said was in your mind and try to like get it out so that you could actually figure out what the next steps were. And I feel like that process within itself, as obviously emotionally tolling it was on you, has led you to like where you are today, and has led you to the studio and the amazing business that you're creating. And now you're able to impact other people's lives in ways that you like want to dictate and choose that specific journey for yourself, which I'm sure has been really cool and a transition from what you were doing before.
Yeah, it's definitely been like it's. I feel like it's life changing. Um, because I feel like once I took the decision, and yeah, it was pretty painful because I was there for a long time and I was very on the fence. I felt like I sat on the fence for a while because of how emotionally invested I was in that place. But um, I think once I took the decision and I looked at the plan, no matter how much it hurt to leave a place that I felt like I loved, it I was leaving it for something that I can control, and also I was leaving it for something that I loved more,
Mhm.
because no one is going to look out for me like how I can look out for me. And once I realized that, like, it was very painful. I feel like it was a mindset shift, and which happens with entrepreneurship. Your mindset has to change,
Yeah.
because um, sometimes we get cushy in a job that might not be right for us, and because we still have that steady paycheck, we're like, okay, but I'm fine, I'll just do my side business on the side whenever I can. But once that mindset starts shifting to, no, I am in control of what I'm doing. I want to take this business to the next level, to wherever I can take it. In taking that risk, making that jump, I feel like that was so life changing for me. I haven't looked back. I don't want to look back because I'm in such a good place. Everything started to fall into place. The clients started coming. And even when I gave myself that cushion, I felt like I was very lucky. Okay, so how much money do I need? So I was able to save up. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give myself from 6 months to a year. I
Mhm.
was like, I'm gonna save up, see if I can, at least my rent will be covered or something, And if I had to take on, like, I'm gonna be real honest, like, if I had to go Uber Eats while I'm doing my business, I'll also go Uber Eats. Like, I don't care at this point.
Yeah.
And it has been such a blessing that I haven't even had to touch the money I saved up. Like, that's
Oh,
how good, that's how good it has been. That's how I was able to connect with people that matter. What they're doing matters to me, and build that rapport with my clients. And create projects that are meaningful, like not just from client to designer, but also they're meaningful for the community. They're making an impact out there. It has felt very rewarding, and I feel very blessed. But I think if I was still on the fence, all of those good blessings that have come will still be on pause for me, because I needed my whole self to
mhm.
be involved in order for all of those blessings to come. I hope that that makes sense. I hope to whoever's listening,
Yeah.
that's gonna make sense.
Oh my God. I like feel that to my core, like everything that you said. Because I feel like that's exactly the level of comfort is the hardest thing I think to overcome for a lot of people. And some of those mental hurdles that you mentioned also are probably very similar. But the fact that everything started falling into place once your mindset shifted, or once that kind of had the like leading component to start moving things forward for you, is huge. Because it's true, as an entrepreneur, your mindset is very different than someone who is waking up every day exactly knowing what the day's going to look like and when they're going to get their next paycheck and how structured their 401k is, like so many different things. You have to completely rewire a little bit of what your expectations are and what brings you value and what brings you joy and what's driving you on an everyday basis to continue moving forward, especially when things get hard or when things aren't going the way you want them to go as an entrepreneur, which is most of the time. What would you say to kind of, I think, close this off slash help others that are potentially thinking about quitting their 9 to 5, or have considered it, or maybe they have a side hustle right now that they eventually want to turn into their full time? What would you say as advice, or what advice comes to mind when that question comes up?
Oh my God, I love this question because I feel like I have a lot of advice. But
Amazing.
I
Perfect.
think I think the first, yeah, it's focus on your mindset. Like what really does bring you value? Is it really money, right? What is it that lights you up? Because that's going to be important when you're doing entrepreneurship, like making sure that you have that thing that lights you up to do more of that. Right? I think that's one thing. Another thing is have an exit plan. I cannot emphasize that enough with anyone that asks me that question, like, oh, how did you do it? It wasn't a 1 second split decision, honestly. It really wasn't for me, at least. I really thought about it for a while. I created an exit plan. I also looked at my options. I was very honest with myself. What are the pros? What are the cons to this? Once you switch to the entrepreneurial side, then just those fears you had as an employee, like all those things, will be different once you're an entrepreneur. But the good thing about being an entrepreneur is that when you're thinking of money, especially, you are uncapping yourself. And that was the thing that kept me going. I'm not gonna let them tell me how much I'm worth as a designer, as a strategist, as a person, because by the time I left, I was already also doing bigger things. Since I was there for 7 years, I was doing creative direction, I was training, I was, um, doing a lot more things, but it wasn't reflected on my salary. So if you are like whoever's listening, right? If you are in a place where you see that you're bringing more to the table and you feel like in your business you'll be able to expand that or make those things that light you up a lot better. I would say that maybe yes, create an exit plan. See what works, see what doesn't work. You are uncapping yourself as an entrepreneur. You have no cap. You have no
Mhm.
manager telling you, "Oh, this year we can only increase 2%." No, baby. Like you
Yeah.
are uncapping yourself as an entrepreneur. So I think that's one thing to realize in that your mindset. I feel like another that has been good for me is rely on your community. Begin building community. It could be online, it could be with people, like networking, meeting new people, being open to meeting new people and interacting with them and just creating bonds. For me, I think the online community Jefas Juntas, which is where I met SP, has been also a big part of my success. I feel like it's been very supportive, and I was able to, connect with others and begin working together, like doing work just like we're doing with SP. So I think community is very important. One last thing is have a set few people which you trust fully and that you know are going to support you.
Mm.
And I guess what I mean with that is, even if it's not your family or your parent, when you find like other person who supports your entrepreneurship spirit and journey, I think that that is very big. I feel like sometimes, especially us as Latinas or in the Latino community, we want our family to, be happy for us, or we want them to like be our biggest supporters. And when that doesn't happen, it sort of gets us stuck. And it's like, oh well, my own family didn't even support my my side hustle idea. So, well, why others want, I think those are fears that we have that I feel like it needs to be talked about. Like, even if your family doesn't support it, if I am a very big believer. So if God put it in your heart and that God put it in your mind, if God gave you a vision, it's because it's your vision. It's not your mom's vision. It's not your sister's vision. So even if mom and dad or sister, brother, or even tias don't believe in it, it's yours. It's in your heart because you can make it happen. So that would be my last tip and advice.
I'm like getting emotional, especially about the last one. I just feel like it's so impactful because at the end of the day, no one else is living your life. No one else is going to be fully impacted by the decisions you make. It's going to be you, which is why it's important to do things that bring you joy and that you feel excited about waking up in the morning for. I think it's so true as Latinas, you really want to make your family happy. You really want to make your family proud. There's a moment where you realize you kind of have to let go a little bit of the value that you're putting on yourself based off of someone else's perception of you, whereas you need to step into the perception of what you want and what you want your life to look like. Thank you for like making me emotional. No, but
No.
honestly, this was great. And I really appreciate you sharing all that you shared and taking the time to do that. I feel like a lot of people are going to find a lot of gems that will help them move forward with whether it's their side hustle or their 9 to 5, all that stuff. So yeah, let me know if you want to share anything else or if there's anything else you want to say before we hop off.
No, I think that we cover a lot. And yeah, thank you for giving me the space to share, all that I learned and also like my experience. I know that maybe it might not be what people want to hear, but I mean, I feel like it has to be said because there's a lot of people glamorizing entrepreneurship online, especially on Instagram. You're like, oh, this is the
And
perfect
rainbows
thing,
and butterflies. Yeah.
rainbows and butterflies, and you're gonna get 10 clients by tomorrow. But I think it's important to just, even though it's messy, it's okay to do it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
No.
It just has to happen.
Yeah. And it has to bring you joy.
Yeah, and it has to bring you joy for sure.
Yeah.